They say you don't really know a person until everything falls apart. I used to laugh at that. Thought it was one of those cliches people throw around after bad breakups. But now I know it's true. Because until the day I found out who my wife really was, I thought I had a good life. A simple one, but good. Name's Jack. Jack Palmer. 42. Born and raised in Indiana. I work at a local HVAC company in Fort Wayne. Been there 18 years. My hands are always cracked and dry in the winter, and my back screams most mornings. But it's honest work. Paid the bills. Bought us the house. Put food on the table. And then there was her. Rachel. My wife of 13 years. She had this way of laughing, soft, like it wasn't meant for the whole room, just for me. And when she looked at me with those green eyes, even after a long day, it felt like home. We weren't rich, but we weren't struggling either. 2 cars in the driveway. Decent little backyard. A porch swing she picked out at an estate sale. Our dog, Max, would bark at every squirrel like it was his job. People who saw us thought we were happy. Hell, I thought we were happy. But I guess even a well-built house can have rot behind the walls. It started small. Late nights at work. Then late nights with her sister. Then the phone, always face down. Notifications silenced. A certain kind of tension in the air, like the smell before a thunderstorm. I didn't want to be that guy. The suspicious husband. The paranoid one. I brushed it off. Told myself she was just tired, or stressed. We all go through rough patches, right? But deep down, something shifted. The way she kissed me changed. The way she avoided my eyes. The way her phone became a part of her hand, but never around me. One night, I heard her giggling in the kitchen, whispering into the phone. Thought it was her sister again. But when I asked, she said it was just a podcast. A funny episode. That lie was the first crack. A few days later, I found a receipt in her coat pocket. Dinner for 2. Not a cheap place either, one of those candlelit joints downtown, the kind we hadn't been to in years. I wasn't on that date. I didn't say anything. Not yet. Instead, I waited. I watched. She started going out more. Running errands. Meeting a friend. Helping her mom. Always with the same smile. Always with a peck on the cheek that felt more like habit than affection. And every time she walked out that door, something inside me twisted. You know that feeling when your stomach drops on a roller coaster? That cold rush of certainty that you're not in control anymore? That's what it felt like. Every single time. I finally cracked on a Saturday afternoon. She said she was going to visit her sister in Carmel, 2 hours away, and stay the night. Something about a wine tasting, girls' weekend, blah blah. She packed a little too carefully for a casual trip. Took her nicest blouse. Her perfume. And she left Max behind, even though she usually took him everywhere. As soon as she pulled out of the driveway, I grabbed my keys and followed. I kept my distance. Stayed far enough not to be noticed, close enough not to lose her. My heart was thudding the whole way. I felt stupid. Like I was in some made-for-TV drama. But something told me to keep going. She didn't go to Carmel. She went to a hotel on the outskirts of Indianapolis. Pulled in like she'd done it before. I parked down the block and watched from behind a convenience store. 10 minutes later, a silver Audi pulled in next to her car. A man stepped out. Tall. Dressed sharp. Sunglasses even though the sun was setting. He walked up to her door and kissed her. Full on. The kind of kiss I hadn't gotten from her in months. I sat there in my truck frozen, watching my wife, the woman I made a life with, wrap her arms around a stranger like he was the one she came home to every night. Something died in me that moment. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't punch the steering wheel like you see in movies. I just sat there. Cold. Empty. Quiet. And that quiet was worse than any rage. When they disappeared into the hotel, I drove back home. And on that 2-hour drive, something new started growing in the ashes of who I used to be. It wasn't anger. It was calculation. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. I wasn't going to beg, or cry, or ask her why. I was going to find out everything. Who he was. How long it had been going on. What they were doing. And why she thought I was too dumb to notice. I was going to take my time. Because revenge, real revenge, doesn't come from rage. It comes from patience. And I had plenty of that. The next morning, Rachel came home like nothing had happened. She walked in with a smile, grocery bag in one hand, her phone in the other. Kissed me on the cheek. Said, "Missed you, babe," like she meant it. I nodded, said nothing. She didn't notice. People think betrayal feels like a knife in the gut. They're wrong. It feels like an earthquake you can't stop, a slow-motion collapse while everyone else keeps talking like the walls aren't cracking around you. I had work that day. Ductwork install at a new medical clinic. But I couldn't focus. Every time I held a wrench, I imagined it breaking bones instead of tightening bolts. I kept seeing her, arms around him, laughing, eyes closed, trusting. So I took a few days off. Told the boss I caught a bug. Spent the time digging. First thing I did was drive back to that hotel. At the front desk, I played dumb. Said I was trying to surprise my wife, Rachel Palmer. She'd been there over the weekend. The clerk hesitated, looked at the computer, then smiled and said, "Of course. Room 218, checked out Sunday morning. Hope she enjoyed the stay." I asked if she'd stayed alone. He gave me a tight smile and said, "We respect our guests' privacy, sir." So I left. But I wasn't done. Next stop, the parking lot. They had cameras. I knew where they'd be. Back home, I made a few calls. A buddy of mine, Rick, works for a security company. Owes me a favor from years back. Helped him when his marriage was falling apart. Told him I needed footage from a hotel near Indy. Gave him the address and the time window. 2 days later he sent it. A grainy clip, timestamped 7:14 p.m., Saturday. Rachel's car pulling in. Then the Audi. The man steps out. And for a second, just a flash, he turns toward the camera. There it was. A face. Tall, mid-40s. Tan. Hair slicked back like he walked out of a golf club. Expensive taste. Confident stride. I paused it. Rewound. Watched again. Memorized his face. Then I ran the plates on the Audi. Rachel didn't know I still had a friend at the DMV. Came back to a name, Martin Clay. Indianapolis address. Real estate developer. Divorced. No kids. I looked him up online. Found his face on his company's website. Same smug grin. Same tan. Same life I'd never have. Suits, rooftop parties, cocktails with names I couldn't pronounce. Rachel always said she wanted more. Maybe this was her more. I sat there staring at his picture, and something in my chest burned cold. I didn't hate him. Not yet. He didn't owe me anything. As far as he knew, Rachel was just some single woman who liked Italian food and hotel sheets. She was the one who vowed loyalty. She was the one who looked me in the eye and said, "For better or worse." But he was in it now. And once I was done with her, he'd get his share. I started tracking patterns. She wasn't careful anymore. That's the thing about cheaters. They get lazy when they think they're winning. She started using the same excuses. Her sister needed her again. Another book club. helping plan a wedding. Always at night, always with a smile. So I installed a GPS tracker under her car. Small one, magnetic, took less than 10 seconds. Now I had her movements in real time. Could watch her lies unfold mile by mile. And they unfolded fast. 3 nights that week, she drove to Martin's office. Stayed for hours. Once, she came back with a necklace I'd never seen before. Said it was from a coworker for her. Hard work. She didn't even try anymore. That's what stunned me. It wasn't just betrayal. It was how casual it had become. Like I was furniture in my own house. Like she was already planning her exit, and I just hadn't been informed yet. But here's the thing. I wasn't going to let her leave. Not without paying for it. Not without feeling what I felt. That cold emptiness. That shock in the gut. That moment when you realize everything you built was a lie wrapped in perfume and fake smiles. I didn't want to hurt her. Not in the way most people think. I wanted to destroy the illusion. The image she held of herself. The clever wife who fooled the dumb husband. The woman who thought she could swap loyalty for luxury and never feel the cost. I wanted her to lose everything she gained from him. And I wanted her to see me, standing in the rubble, holding the match. That's when I started the plan. A real plan. Not rage. Not an outburst. A quiet, careful unraveling. I went into the attic, pulled down the lockbox. Inside were documents, receipts, insurance papers, old copies of our will. I studied everything. Her accounts. Her passwords. Her investments. The small one I helped her start. The bigger one she hid from me in a Roth account her uncle supposedly helped her set up. She didn't know I knew her backup email. The one she thought she deleted. Over the next week, I got access to everything. She'd been saving for a new life. A separate life. Her and Martin. Travel plans. A condo in Charlotte. She even had job leads lined up, one of them sent by him. It was all there in black and white. She was going to leave. Not just cheat. Leave. Take half the money, maybe more. File quietly. Move in with him. Start fresh, clean, happy. Like I was a chapter she could just turn the page on. But I wasn't a chapter. I was the author now. And I'd just finished writing the outline for how this story would end. A lie, once spotted, becomes easier to see the second time. And by the third, it's as clear as day. Rachel didn't even know she was leaving footprints everywhere. The lipstick in her bag had changed shades. She was wearing heels again, just not for me. Her girls' nights always ended with her phone on airplane mode. She thought I was still that same tired husband who came home, patted the dog, and fell asleep on the couch watching reruns. That was her biggest mistake. I started recording everything. Texts. Calls. Financial transfers. GPS routes. I printed out hotel receipts, screenshots of messages from her email, and copies of her condo application in Charlotte. I even bugged her car, a little mic hidden behind the vent. Not because I wanted to hear them talk, but because I wanted a record. Proof. And once I had enough, I moved on to the next step. I needed leverage. See, I could have exposed her right then. Could have sent the photos, the audio, the documents to her friends, her family, even her boss. Ruined her name. But that would have been too quick. Too clean. No, I wanted her to suffer the way I had slowly. So I played the part. I kissed her goodnight. Cooked dinner. Watched Netflix with her like nothing had changed. I told her she looked beautiful, even when it made me want to bite through my tongue. And in the background, I started pulling strings. She had a credit card in her name, one she thought I didn't know about. I maxed it out on things she couldn't explain. Furniture she never ordered. Subscriptions she didn't sign up for. Then I canceled them all before they shipped. I rerouted her mail to a P.O. box and let the bills pile up at home. Then I called Martin. I used a burner phone and a fake name. Said I was with a private security firm. Claimed Rachel had been flagged in a background check connected to a fraud investigation. Asked him if he was in any financial dealings with her just to verify her identity. He got defensive fast. Said she was just a friend. Friend. Right. That's when I knew he hadn't told anyone about her. Not his clients. Not his co-workers. Not even his ex-wife. Interesting. So I did some digging on him too. Turns out Martin wasn't squeaky clean. He had a few lawsuits in his past, contractor disputes, investment missteps. Nothing criminal, but enough to make his business fragile. Image mattered to him. He liked power, money, reputation. All things that could crack with the right pressure. I made a fake email account and drafted a message. Attached one of the hotel photos. Her name. A timeline. No threats. Just the facts. Then I let it sit in drafts. Because the truth wasn't just ammo, it was the match. I'd light it when I was ready. Back at home, Rachel was getting bolder. She came in late one night, claiming her sister had car trouble. Smelled like wine. Hair freshly curled. Her phone buzzed twice, and she ignored it, a habit she never had with me. She was slipping. Cracking under the illusion that I didn't see. That weekend, I told her I had a surprise planned. Said we needed a little time away. Booked a cabin up north, somewhere quiet, where cell service cut out after a mile and no one asked questions. She lit up. Maybe she thought I was making one last effort to win her back. Or maybe she thought it'd be a good weekend to break it off, let me down easy, disappear with her tan Romeo and never look back. Either way, she packed light. We drove up Friday morning. She played music, sang along to a song I didn't recognize. Her hand brushed mine on the gear shift. For a second, it almost felt normal. Almost. But normal doesn't come back once the truth is out. You can smile through it. Pretend. But it's like taping over broken glass. Sharp edges still cut. We arrived just after noon. A single cabin on a frozen lake. No neighbors, no lights for miles. Wood burning stove, 2 chairs by the fire, and 1 bedroom. I made lunch while she unpacked. She told me she loved the place. I nodded. After we ate, I asked her if she wanted to take a walk on the lake trail. She said yes. Put on her boots. Took my hand. We walked in silence for a while. Trees bare, branches groaning in the wind. Max ran ahead, nose buried in the snow. Rachel looked peaceful. Like someone who'd already made her decision. Like someone who didn't realize the road behind her was vanishing. And that's when I told her. Not everything. Just enough. That I knew about Martin. That I'd seen them. That I knew about Charlotte. She froze. Didn't cry. Didn't deny it. She just whispered, "How long?" I said, "Long enough." She sat on a fallen log and stared at the snow. I could see the wheels turning. She wasn't worried about the affair. She was worried about the fallout. The plan unraveling. She said, "Jack, I didn't mean to." I stopped her. Told her it didn't matter what she meant. Told her I wasn't angry anymore. That was true. I was past anger. Past grief. I was calm now. Clear. Then I handed her an envelope. Inside were all the documents. Printouts. Photos. Timeline. A neat little summary of everything she tried to hide. She held it like it burned her hands. "Why are you giving me this?" she asked. I told her. "Because I want you to see exactly what you threw away." And then I walked back to the cabin without her. Didn't look back. Let the wind carry her silence behind me. Let her sit there in the cold, staring down at the weight of her betrayal. That night, she barely spoke. We ate dinner in silence. She didn't touch her wine, just stared into the fire like it might answer something. I let her stew. Let the guilt sink in. She didn't know it yet, but that was the easy part. The real punishment hadn't started. Because exposing a lie is one thing. But tearing down the lie maker? That's where the real justice begins. We drove back from the cabin Sunday morning. Rachel didn't speak the entire trip. Not a word. She just stared out the window like the trees might offer her a way out. But there wasn't one. Not anymore. By the time we got home, the air between us had changed. Heavier. Colder. Like she finally understood the scale of what I knew, and that I hadn't done anything about it yet. That silence scared her more than shouting ever could. She tried to act normal for the next few days. Cleaned the kitchen twice. Cooked dinner from scratch. Put on that soft, sweet smile she used to wear, but her eyes didn't match it. She was waiting. Expecting a confrontation. A blow-up. Maybe a breakdown. But I gave her none of that. I gave her quiet. And quiet eats people alive. Meanwhile, I turned my attention back to Martin Clay. See, now that I'd torn the mask off at home, it was time to lift it off the man who thought he could dip into another man's life without consequence. I sent the email. The one I'd left sitting in drafts. The one with the photos, the timeline, the details. I sent it not just to Martin, but to his ex-wife, his business partner, and his top 3 real estate clients, all the ones who prided themselves on family values and a clean image. I didn't sign it. Didn't have to. Truth speaks for itself. The fallout started 2 days later. Rachel came home with her face pale and jaw clenched. Said nothing, but I saw it in her eyes. She called him, and he hadn't answered. I checked my tracker app. His Audi hadn't moved in 36 hours. I watched from the garage window as she stood on the back porch, phone in hand, texting. Then deleting. Then texting again. She was unraveling now. Losing control of the story she thought she was writing. And I wasn't done. That week, I contacted a lawyer. Quietly. Asked about asset separation, infidelity clauses, and how to protect myself before a divorce gets filed. Indiana's laws weren't perfect, but I had evidence. Stacks of it. Rachel's mistake wasn't just cheating. It was cheating while planning to leave, while preparing to drain the account, flip the house, and walk out as if I was just some phase she outgrew. But not anymore. The lawyer helped me move half the joint savings to a separate account under my name. Legal. Protected. I also froze the credit cards and filed a fraud alert on her spending patterns. Nothing she could fight without explaining where the charges came from. And then I did the one thing she never expected. I invited her parents over. Her mother, Linda, was sharp. Traditional. Didn't believe in divorce. Always said, "When you commit, you commit." Rachel looked panicked when I suggested it. "What's the occasion?" she asked. "Just dinner," I said. "Like old times." She tried to get out of it. Claimed she was working late. I pushed. Said I already invited them, and they were excited. She showed up late, hair a mess, makeup halfway done, like she'd run through a thunderstorm of anxiety. Dinner was quiet at first. Small talk. Max pacing the floor, sensing something off. Then Linda asked, "You two seem different. Is everything okay?" I set my fork down, looked Rachel in the eye, and said, "Rachel's been seeing another man for over 6 months. She was planning to leave me behind and start a new life with him." Her fork clattered onto her plate. Her father froze, eyes locked on her. Linda didn't speak, just turned to Rachel like she was seeing her for the first time. Rachel opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I slid the folder across the table. The one with the photos, the emails, the receipts. Her father looked inside, then pushed his chair back and walked out of the room without a word. Linda stared at Rachel for a long moment. And then she said the most cutting thing I've ever heard. "You used to be better than this." And she left too. Rachel sat there, blinking, tears welling up, but none falling. She whispered, "Why would you do that?" I didn't answer, because this wasn't about answers anymore. It was about consequences. For a while, Rachel tried to fix things. She apologized, baked banana bread like it was some magic wand, sat beside me on the couch, tried to hold my hand. I let her. Not because I believed it, but because I wanted her to believe, for just a little longer, that forgiveness might still be an option. That way, when it was taken away, it would sting more. One night, she broke down in the hallway. Said she made a mistake. That Martin had disappeared. That she didn't know what she was thinking. I looked at her and asked, "Would you have stopped if I never caught you?" She didn't answer. Didn't need to. The silence told me everything. That night, I slept in the guest room. And while she tossed and turned in the bed we used to share, I wrote a letter. Not for her, but for Martin's clients. A full, detailed account of the affair. Not just personal, but professional. How he used company time to host her. How he paid for her flights and hotels on the business card. How he lied to partners while promising them loyalty. I mailed it out the next morning. No signature. No return address. Just truth, wrapped in silence. By the end of that week, Martin's company was under review, Rachel's phone barely rang, and the woman who once walked with confidence and perfume now looked over her shoulder like the walls were whispering. And they were. They were whispering my name. Because I wasn't finished yet. I still had one more thing to take from her. Something even more valuable than money. I'd taken her money. I'd taken her illusion of love. I'd taken the man she thought she could build her future with. But none of that was the real punishment. That came next. Because the worst pain isn't losing what you had, it's realizing you never really had it at all. For weeks, Rachel moved through the house like a ghost. She spoke softer, walked slower. She tried to be present, cooked dinner every night, cleaned rooms that didn't need cleaning, kept her phone in plain sight like a dog laying belly up, begging for mercy. But it was all surface. She didn't come back because she loved me. She stayed because she had nowhere else to go. Martin had cut her off completely. The condo in Charlotte? Gone. The job referral? Pulled. One of his clients must have forwarded him that package I mailed, and once it hit his desk, he'd done what all men like him do when threatened, vanished to protect his own skin. Rachel lost her safety net. And that's when she came crawling back to the life she once considered beneath her. But I wasn't the same man anymore. And I had one more step before this chapter closed. Her birthday was coming up. She always made a big deal about it, said it wasn't about getting older, it was about feeling seen. So I saw her. I told her I was planning something special. Said I'd invited a few friends and family. Booked a little hall just outside of town, something intimate, candlelit catered. She lit up. For the first time in weeks, she looked like the old Rachel again. The one who still believed she could manipulate the world back into shape. I rented the space. I sent the invites. But not to her friends. Not to family. I invited the truth. Her coworkers. Her boss. Her parents. Our neighbors. Even her book club, the one she used as an excuse for half her disappearances. I set up a slideshow. Just a little presentation. No narration needed. The images would speak for themselves. A photo of Rachel kissing Martin outside the hotel. A screenshot of a flight itinerary for two, booked with Martin's points. an email draft she never sent, saved in her deleted folder. I can't take it much longer with Jack. Soon, baby. I promise. The room was silent when it started, and silent when it ended. I stood at the front. Didn't say a word. Just nodded, thanked everyone for coming, and walked off the stage. Rachel had been standing near the back when it began. By the time it ended, she was gone. She didn't come home that night. Didn't answer my calls. I wasn't worried. She needed time to break. I needed time to breathe. The next morning, she returned. Quiet. Hair a mess. Eyes red. Her coat clutched around her like armor. She sat at the table across from me and said, "You ruined me." I said nothing. She leaned forward. Why? Why go that far? I finally looked at her and said, "Because I gave you everything, and you buried it like trash." She didn't cry. She just sat back, jaw tight, like someone waiting for the axe to fall. And then I gave it to her. I told her the divorce papers were signed, waiting in the envelope on the counter. She had two options: sign them now and walk away with what little dignity she had left, or drag it into court, where every single piece of evidence I collected would go on record. Every photo, every receipt, every email. She opened the envelope. Read the terms. She looked up at me, voice flat. You want the house? I nodded. You want Max? I nodded again. She swallowed hard. And I walk with nothing. Correct. She stared at me for a long time. Then slowly, carefully, signed the papers. It was done. 13 years, reduced to a signature. She packed that afternoon. Left her keys on the counter. Didn't hug Max, didn't say goodbye. Just walked out the door. And I stood there in the kitchen, hands still, heart quiet, as the door closed behind her for the last time. Some people call it revenge. I call it balance. Because some things aren't just about punishment. They're about restoring the weight to the right side of the scale. And now, for the first time in months, everything was quiet. And it was finally honest.